we'll give it a couple of seconds while we wait for everyone to join in. All right. Let's see. We've got everyone joining. All right. I wish I had some confetti and I would say happy eDiscovery Day to everyone. Happy eDiscovery Day, everybody. I hope we've been celebrating since last night, beginning with our Australia chapters. But we want to say happy eDiscovery Day. We are and we didn't even plan that this was going to fall on eDiscovery Day. Just by chance it did. But welcome to Eye on ESI. I am Maribel Rivera, Vice President of Client Engagement and Strategy here at ACEDS. I'm joined today by our President, Mike Quartararo, and by CEO and founder of True Staffing Partners, Jared Coseglia. They are my partners in crime every month as we talk about what's going on as far as careers and job trends in the eDiscovery. And sometimes we talk about other areas like data privacy, InfoGov, and cybersecurity. Cyber, yes, a lot of different things going on. I'm sure we'll start to talk about some AI roles in all of those areas too as time goes. But hi, Jared. Hey, Mike. What's going on?
Hey, Maribel. Good to be here with you, and thanks everybody for joining.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be, and happy eDiscovery Day.
Happy eDiscovery Day. So, Jerry, we've got 30 minutes. I think we've got a lot. There's a lot going on in the industry. It's the end of year, which is a perfect time for us to talk about jobs and careers and what's happening in the industry as far as salary, because everyone starts to look. So take us through what's going on.
Yes. I think there are going to be a lot of people looking for jobs come January for a couple of key reasons. The first of which is people are probably not going to get the kind of raises and salary bonuses that they thought they might get. I think a lot of companies are going to give less than they gave this time last year in terms of raises and bonuses. That's our expectation as we still head into a confident but cautious macroeconomic job market in 2024. What I can tell you that's really interesting that's happened over the last 30 to 60 days is that the average price point for most jobs in eDiscovery has dropped. And this is the first time we've ever seen this in the last 4 or 5 years, definitely since post-pandemic rebound. And right now, as you can see here, the average salary for a PM in eDiscovery over the last 30 days was $125,000. That's a pretty big drop from $150,000 about a year ago today. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't willing to pay more for project managers. It just means that the people that are actually getting hired in the last 30 days are getting hired at a lower price point. Now, we had this statistic last month on PMs, and we decided let's do it for analysts too, since those are the two most popular jobs out in the marketplace. Analysts right now are at around 100 average salary if they're at a vendor, and at 110 at a law firm. So that actually went up a bit from what we were trending as opposed to PMs, which have gone down. Now, there is a lot more PM jobs out there than analyst jobs, but there's also just a lot more jobs out there in November than in previous months. November was the second busiest month for new job requests received here at True. That's really unusual. November is usually not one of those standout months for customers requesting to hire new roles. It is very clear that people have held back on headcount for a lot of 2023 and will be accelerating the volume of hiring across the industry as we head into 2024, particularly as we get prepared for legal week, which has now moved back to the end of January. For the last few years, you might remember they tried it at the end of March. And I really think that hurt the industry, to be honest. I'm really glad it's back at the end of January. It's a catapult and thrust in general for the job market, but I think for sales efforts in general in eDiscovery, and that will accelerate business for everyone in the industry sooner in the year.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm totally happy about it being in January again, but I agree with you as far as sales.
My sales strategy is happy with it.
Yes.
My love for tropical weather, maybe not so much.
Same.
What's remarkable is for eDiscovery, we still have not had a single candidate who we've received an offer for get a counteroffer in 170 days and counting. That's the longest streak we've seen for that since we've been tracking that metric, which is years now. So when we look at all of these trends and try to give you some sort of summary as to what's actually happening, this is what we would say. The speed of hire is accelerating, which we'll unpack in a second. The job volume is increasing, the amount of jobs available in the market. The cost of talent is decreasing, meaning hiring managers are looking to spend less money for net new hires, particularly at the PM level. And therefore, also the skill and experience expectations of hiring managers is also decreasing. So in short, what does this mean? It means if you're somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in base compensation, and you've got between 0 and 12 months of eDiscovery experience, now could be a very good time for you to make a job move and get a significant increase in your base salary, a 25% increase. If you're at $150,000, $160,000, you are very unlikely to get a 20% increase in comp if there are even that many jobs available for you out in the marketplace. Also, if you're at that 80 to 100 range base and you're looking to get to 100 to 130, now is a good time for you to consider making a career move. Those jobs are in the greatest abundance in the 80 to 130 range, and we expect that that's what the primary hiring will be in the first quarter of next year.
Mike, any thoughts? You good?
So many thoughts. Last month we talked about stasis, and this month we're talking about chaos.
I don't think it's chaos, because chaos is...
I'm being dramatic for eDiscovery Day effect.
Well, but look, we've experienced chaos in eDiscovery, about a year and a half ago from today. And that chaos was every job seeker was getting 4 to 5 job offers at the point of leaving their job, which inflated salaries by 20 to 40% this time last year. And what we're getting is moving away from stasis and into a real recalibration of what the industry needs in order for everyone to grow their businesses or their practices or their software companies. And so in a lot of ways, I see this as very good, right? Because what we're hearing from our customers, not our job seekers, but our customers, is that I can't keep paying project managers $150,000 to $200,000. We're not going to continue to be profitable if salaries continue to accelerate at a rate that our customers are not willing to also increase their bill rates for. And I think there's been a lot of pushback from customers in 2023 as we thought we were going to go into a recession. It looks like we're going to go into a soft landing, but that still means everybody is being very thoughtful about spend. And the likelihood of everybody being able to raise their rates 20 to 40% on professional services and client services professionals in a trepidatious year like this one is not likely, and therefore they have to recalibrate what they're hiring project managers and analysts for in order to maintain profitability. So when we look at this, law firms, we can bring up all the animations, MT. It's Christmas colors, because you'll see here what's going up and what's going down. And over the last 60 days, we've seen that entry-level positions have gone down. I think that people had a lot of leverage because of the competitive job market in 2022 to come right out of school or have 6 months of actual experience, maybe less, and command salaries at 65, 75, 85,000. That is not the case. Most hiring managers that are hiring entry level, which is less than 12 months of experience, are looking for more in the 50s, low 60s. Sometimes there are exceptions that get them up to 75, particularly at law firms, and these are very rare jobs. Mostly law firms are hiring at the top to middle top end of the ecosystem in eDiscovery. Analysts, as you can see, has gone up, mostly because it's competitive. There are not a lot of analysts coming into the space, and it is a little bit of a game of musical chairs, which has actually accelerated the price point. Also, the demand from law firms for people to come into an office has also brought that price point out on analysts. PMs, not so much, mostly because there's more volume of PMs available than there are analysts. And there's a little bit, as you can see, of a broader salary range for those project managers. But even those salaries we've seen come down. We're seeing that now at the non-exempt level at around 110 to 150, maybe a little bit less in the Midwest, and at the exempt level at around 125, 135 to around 185, maybe a little bit less in the Midwest. And this is down from 6 months ago. Director manager, we've actually seen go up, which has been kind of nice to see. We've had a good handful of leadership jobs that have become available. Part of that is because they're at larger mid-sized firms as opposed to boutiques, which is what we saw most leadership jobs in law firms come from in the first half of this year. So those salaries have ticked up just a little bit.
Interesting. So we do have a question in the chat. So the question is, well, there's a little preface to it. I know many law firms and corporate clients are hesitant to use all of these new generative AI tools at the same pace as possibly Silicon Valley, but could this affect jobs and or what people are doing, definition of jobs by 2025 or 2026? We've touched on this a little bit, but any thoughts?
Very deliberate thoughts. So yes, it will eventually impact e-discovery. I think to really see the impact of AI on e-discovery, not legal, but on e-discovery will probably be a 5 to 7 year horizon before we really see the impact on the job market or otherwise. Right now, what's beautiful about AI is that it appears that the advent and integration and exploration of AI is going to create an ecosystem of new software and services, boutique companies that we haven't really seen in legal, much less e-discovery, since the early 2000s, when it was a little bit of the wild, wild west, and there was no one tool to rule them all, or 3 tools, companies to rule them all, which is the consolidation that we are in right now. So it'll create a whole new ecosystem. There'll be lots of products that rise and fall and merge, and that will create jobs. It'll create new role responsibilities, but that's going to take years, guys. The first place we're going to see AI jobs is going to be in policy, because what's going to happen over the next year is there's going to be legislation and regulation largely around compliance that comes out at both the federal, state, global level. Probably the EU Act will be the first. And we'll need lawyers who are going to advise customers on policy. That will connect next, in our minds, to governance, because applying AI technology to information governance is likely the fastest application of what we've seen being developed in the software and services marketplace, and the one that is probably most likely to be adopted with the least hesitation in the legal community. Now, it may sidestep legal too. This may be some hybrid role in corporate between privacy, between their existing governance departments, between IT. That all is working itself out. But what I can tell you is this: the privacy community, the leaders in that community are telling us that they're spending anywhere between 10 and 30% of their daily activities focused on AI-related questions, agendas, curiosities, explorations, looking at vendors, looking at policy, advising boards. And if they're going to lean into the privacy people for that, that signals to us where the first jobs might be. Because if CPOs start to evolve, if privacy engineering leaders evolve into AI leaders, it will create room for people to move up in the ecosystem, thus creating room from the bottom. Some people able to move laterally. I still think that we'll see adoption there faster than we're likely to see net new jobs that are exclusively focused on AI in e-discovery. It's going to take longer.
Excellent. Mike, are you deep in thought over there?
I am deep in thought, and I want to come around to this because we talked about this in our prep a little bit, but let's get through the numbers for the month. I want to talk about the bench.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the bench because the vendors desperately need one. And if you look at the vendor animations, you'll see there ain't no green on this slide. All the numbers have gone down in terms of what we're actually seeing people accept job offers for, and they've come down pretty significantly. We are seeing a lot of people hire technicians or project analysts that are being groomed to be PMs in that 55 to 75K range. We don't see it closer to the 75 very often. It is much more in that like high 50s, low 60s. Coordinators have gone down, but so have the expectations of the talent caliber. Project manager positions have gone down, but so have the expectations of the caliber. Senior PM jobs have gone down and are fewer and far between over the last 30 to 60 days. Review managers have gone down. And, it's not like they've gone down a ton, but, they've gone down double digits over the last 30 to 60 days. ESI sales staffing has gone down. What we've actually seen the market start to do is acquiesce and say, okay, I don't need this person to be a $5 to $10 million player. I'll hire somebody doing $1.5 million to $2 million a year in top line revenue, particularly if that revenue is more technology or professional services and not document review centric. So everything has come down a little bit. And I think part of that is because the vendors are feeling the pinch on profit, but also part of it is because some people are unemployed and have now come to the, I'm willing to take less in order to get back to work. But also because some people have had in-office policy requirements change over the last 90 days. And that enforcement of those policies has led people to say, I'd rather take a little less money and stay fully remote or stay 2 days a week in an office instead of 5 than get paid the extra $10,000 or $15,000 to now start coming into an office again 2 to 3 days a week or 5 days a week. So all those factors, right, go into why we're seeing salaries come down. The beauty of it, though, is that we're seeing the amount of people getting hired go up. So as salaries have come down a little bit, volume of staffing has broadened, which hopefully is cultivating, as Mike said, somewhat of a less experienced roster of e-discovery talent for this community to take advantage of over the next 3 to 5 years as they mature, because we have a real problem as an industry with getting net new people into the industry, groomed and trained and available at price points that the vendors, quite frankly, want to pay.
Hey, Jared, quick question while we're sort of talking about this, because I'm a voracious reader. I read all the trades and everything pretty much every morning just to sort of get caught up. And anyone who's been paying attention knows that there's some really kind of astronomical things happening with lawyer salaries. Right, lawyer salaries are getting bumped up, bonuses are getting bigger, and so on and so forth, and that's great. I'm never going to begrudge somebody some compensation, but I'm wondering if that is causing, at least on the law firm side, for them to look for less expensive talent.
Well, I don't think that's the indicator and reason, Mike, and I'll tell you why. Because the salaries are going up, the bonuses are going up, and so are the bill rates. What I'm hearing from our corporate customers are, yeah, I might shop around for different outside counsel. I've gone from paying $450 an hour for a resource to $750 an hour for that same resource. So I don't think if what you're suggesting is, are attorneys paying less for non-attorney talent in order to overcompensate the existing attorney talent in the partnership, I think the answer to that is no. I think they're raising their rates and thus paying themselves more. And I also think they're seeing, particularly in litigation, a pretty significant increase in litigation in general over the last 6 months compared to the first 6 months of this year. I mean, I'd be curious to get Kelly Twigger's stats. I know she's always got some great information on how many case filings there are and things like that. And that's usually a good litmus and indicator of general litigation acceleration across the country, if not the globe. I think that has more to do with what we're seeing. And I also think what we're seeing is, I think lawyers know that their customers will pay this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question. Let's see if I know they're on the phone. Graham Turner, did you have a question?
Hey, Graham.
Yeah,
We're in meeting mode, so we can't see him, right?
oh, he has his hands up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he bumped it by mistake, so no problem. All right, thanks, Graham. All right. Okay, let's keep going.
So this is our last stat for the day. We kind of truncated because we knew we were going to go deep on salaries, but you can see the speed of hires increasing. That's because the volume of jobs is also increasing. What you see circled in red this is how many days you have until the candidate you're interviewing probably has another job offer. So if you're an executive level, we've seen that, ramp up a little faster. We had a lot of executives get hired in the month of November. And so that's accelerated from 105 to 90 days. For ESI sales, We've seen a faster transaction rate. That's gone from 90 to 80. I think that will actually accelerate going into legal week. Mid-market has dipped down from 45 to 40. People are just hiring their PMs with a bit more decisiveness, and they're getting more talent kind of wiggling themselves available. And temps have stayed consistent at 10 days. People are moving very quick on temp talent at every level. So this gives you the speed of hire for both considering when a candidate you're interviewing might get other offers, and also how long should my process be to be competitive, and not just competitive in competition with other offers that a candidate may or may not receive, but also competitive in terms of what messaging are you signaling to an active job seeker, right? What we found with some vendor clients is if you let your sales cycle go past 90, 80, we've been hovering kind of in the 90, 70, 90, 80 day range in terms of how long it takes to hire a sales professional. If you let that go 150, 180 days, there's something wrong with the process, right? It's taking too long, and you're signaling to that candidate there's not real interest. So it's important to keep that in mind too, that these timelines also show success because people are actually accepting jobs based on these timelines. And if you elongate them, you're losing competitive advantage. And if you truncate them, you're gaining competitive advantage. One stat that we don't have up here visually that I'll share with everybody is we're still maintaining a 75% acceptance rate for the first offer received by an active job seeker. Meaning, if somebody has 3 offers, they are 75% most likely to take the first one that they got right now. Now, conversely, in Q2 of 2022, that number was only 45%. So it didn't give you as much advantage to be the first offer a job seeker received as it does right now. So speed matters as it relates to the likelihood of acceptance that you will get from a job seeker right now.
Interesting. All right. Let's move on. I know we've got some stuff to do.
Yeah, so we're giving, as some of you may know, we launched True Professional Services, which is really what we consider a offering for job seekers who we may not have brokered the introduction with our customers with. There are some job seekers out there. We're in a market right now where a lot of people don't want to pay recruiter fees. It's not my first rodeo. We've been through this many, many times. It's a cycle, right? Like no one had a problem paying fees in 21 and 22. People are being, thoughtful about spend right now, but that doesn't mean a candidate doesn't need help prepping for those interviews, particularly entry-level candidates, which this industry desperately needs. So between now and the end of the year, we're giving 50% off for our early career consultation. You can use this code, you can buy it directly online. I think this gets the price point down to $250 for the offering, which includes resume support, live interview prep with one of our vice presidents or myself, support from our admin staff on proofreading, and coaching on negotiation so that you're not alone wondering, what should I be asking for? What should I not be asking for? What's reasonable? What's not? So if you're out there job searching and you found opportunity without representation, you can now purchase representation from us. We'll be happy to help.
Excellent. That's awesome. And I think we're going to drop, we've got our e-discovery day celebration sale going on as well. So you'll see that code in there for membership and all of our training and certification products as well shortly. I don't know where it is, but we'll get to that. Great. Let's talk about the bench. We've got 7 minutes. We've been talking about the bench. We've been talking about some of the challenges around finding people, just finding people in the industry, right? So I'm going to start with Mike, and then let's do a little debate. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a question that comes up every once in a while, and Jared and I were talking about it in the prep a little bit because we're both a little bit confounded, frankly, about where and thank you, Peter, for your question. It's a good one. I don't know. I know the big firms are still hiring those 22-year-olds out of undergrad and sort of seeing if they want to work in the law, and some of those convert to paralegal, some go on to law school, some move into e-discovery, privacy, cyber, whatever. But it's to me like there's this tension there in the in the sort of junior ranks that there's not a lot of interest here, and I don't know what the solution is. You know, I say the solution is paralegals. Jared agrees and disagrees, I guess. I won't speak
I
for
mean, I agree from the perspective that that individual often has the right aptitude, attitude, and non-technical experience to move into e-discovery. But the problem is most of them are, maybe surprisingly, overpaid for what it means to make a lateral move into e-discovery. If you're a paralegal making $80,000 to $100,000 a year and you don't know how to maneuver inside relativity, and I don't mean run searches, I mean really maneuver inside relativity, no one's going to pay you 80 to 100 to come on board as a coordinator or a project manager. They need you at 50 to 75.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. The other thing that makes those paralegals ripe that's good is they understand, a lot of them, what it means to work the lifestyle of a legal professional. And I think where there's tremendous dissonance right now in the, let's call it 20-somethings, Gen Z, whatever label you want to put on it. The younger generation that either is or isn't moving into this industry vertical does not have the same acceptance that the Gen Xers and above, and even some of the millennials, had when they were that age, about putting in a 60-hour work week, about showing ambition in order to accelerate career advancement. There is a much stronger focus on quality of life, on balance. They contextually don't understand why they would work, why anyone would work 65, 75 hours a week without getting paid for it with clear overtime or bonus structure, right? That dissonance is now being echoed by the managers who are forced to look to that talent pool for the next generation, because that's the talent pool that they can afford. Because people that have 7 to 10 years of experience in this space, who work those crazy hours in their 20s and early 30s, who are now 10 years more senior, they're getting paid $150,000 to $200,000, especially if they made a job move in 21 and 22 when salaries were accelerating by 20 to 40% at the mid-market.
Yeah.
But what do you do, right? You can't just say, oh, we need to train more people, because you have to find the people that are willing to be trained and willing to put in the kind of hours that the people who are training them put in, because that's what they're expecting, or you really have to change the whole paradigm. And one of the things that we're wondering if it will happen is, does that paradigm shift occur by more people getting hired at lower salaries? And can they be indoctrinated in a different way as to what excellence in customer service and client satisfaction mean in e-discovery? Because that's where I think the disconnect is between the hiring managers and the delivery that they're getting. I mean, I'll tell you, the number one complaint, I'll put it to you this way. The number one complaint we get from sales managers, individual contributors, sales reps in e-discovery, my PMs are not good enough for my customers. They are not giving them the caliber of support that I need to not have to manage my client. And if you talk to a lot of the e-discovery sales contributors out in the industry, this year was not a good year for them. This was mostly not a good year for growth. And part of it is for that reason, because they spent way too much time being involved in their existing customer base because of a lack of customer satisfaction, as opposed to out there chasing the next set of customers.
And you said something during our prep that also resonated with me, and I've been thinking about it since. And that is that law firms and corporate legal, they're not really building litigation support departments or practice support departments anymore. Like, things kind of are what they are. They have who they have, and they're trying to figure out how to make it work. So they might be adding a person here or lateraling a person there, but for the most part, the departments that need to exist, or firms are outsourcing. Corporate legal is outsourcing, right? They found a managed services arrangement or whatever, right?
Well, look, I'll tell you that what we definitely can say is corporations are not leaning into their law firms exclusively to determine what vendors to work with. They're going right to the vendors. But I can also say this, with the advent and adoption of Rel 1 and a move to a cloud-based service solution as opposed to an on-prem one, even if it's Rel 1 or Disco or Everlaw or whatever else you might be using, Reveal, now allows law firms the opportunity to take back some of the control, because the shift that's occurring in the industry right now is that vendors are, over the next 3 to 5 years, going to make more money on their people and the hours they bill than they will most likely on the data that they host. And as that paradigm shift occurs and the value of people begins to supersede data and volumes of data, will law firms start to make choices to bring more talent in-house in order to capture more revenue and solve what appears to be a growing problem of client and customer dissatisfaction with the support they're receiving from a lot of their vendors who are being forced to hire less experienced people in order to maintain profitability?
So we're at time, but I'm gonna leave us on that. We've got the True Staffing Code up on the screen. We've got the eDiscovery Day code, but I want to come back to this because, and I'm going to share this article with Jared and Mike so we can prepare, but IBM and Aon and other companies are doing internship programs now because they're finding the same problem, right? They're no longer looking at just, here go people with degrees, but they're saying, how do we get students who are coming out of high school and college who we can train up, right, with more technical skills and other, right, professional skills that they'll need, and not just the skills of graduating with a college degree. So I want to talk more about that because we didn't really talk about how do you build that bench? How do we build the bench of the next generation, right, of those individuals, especially because we're coming into a point where baby boomers are retiring. So we're going to see a lot. Yes.
Three of the director roles that we've worked on in this last quarter were because people retired.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of that over the coming year, 2 years, right? A lot more people retiring. Because as you said, even people who are baby boomers are starting to say, I've worked my whole life. It's time for me to enjoy something. So we're going to start seeing more of that. But let's touch on that. January, we'll be back. Thank you, everyone. Happy eDiscovery Day. We hope that you're enjoying all of the events that are happening. And if you are going out to see people in person, hopefully you'll see some of our ACEDS chapter members and leaders everywhere. Have a good one and happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays, everyone. Happy eDiscovery Day.